I see you're drinking 1%. Is that because you think you're fat? Because you're not. You could be drinking whole if you wanted to. Well, I have all your equipment in my locker. You should probably come get it because I can't fit my nunchucks in there anymore.
Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Hollywood Gold. I'm your host, Daniela Taplin-Lundberg, and I'm here with Becca Camerata, my right-hand woman. Hey, Bexy, how are you?
I'm good, Daniela. How are you?
I am so excited to jump into this gem, this sleeper hit, Napoleon Dynamite. Sean Covel, what a great producer and storyteller. I'm so excited to talk to him about the process because this was truly a movie that should never have seen the light of day. And not only did it see the light of day, but it has such a tremendous cult following. And I rewatched it the other day, and what a bizarre movie. But I loved it. It's
so much fun.
So unusual. There's nothing like it. Nothing ever will be. It's really its own beast. And I'm so excited how these scrappy producers and filmmakers got this film made. So let's dive right in.
Let's go.
It is so wonderful to be talking to you. I have to say that I hadn't watched Napoleon Dynamite in a while, and I watched it last night. What I realize about it is it's sort of an alternative universe, and you kind of have to get into that world. And then once you're in, you're kind of like, it feels a little like The Wizard of Oz, where you're meeting all these like bizarre characters and they're all their own people, and you really start to like have a real affection for them. But when you first meet them, they're all completely aliens. And so by the end of the film, I was just, God, I love Napoleon, you know, like in all his weirdness. I love him. And I love Pedro. I loved all the characters. And so I want you to take us back, because this is a bizarre movie that made a ton of money and was like a real Cinderella story. So start from the beginning. What's your first memory? How did it come to be? Like, give me the scoop.
I had met Doc Wyatt at USC. We went to the Peter Stark producing program. And Doc, his undergrad was at BYU, where he knew Jared Hess and Aaron Rule and Jeremy Kuhn and a lot of the folks that were involved in the creation of Napoleon Dynamite. Stark, as you know, is the producing focus of USC's film school, really focused on how to get movies made. But for the most part, it was a studio model. It didn't have a lot of independent film focus. My background, I worked with VCs in tech, and I was a headhunter before that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I knew how to put money together. Doc was the guy that was stealing cameras from the equipment store and then going off on weekends to make commercials and sell them to companies to pay for film school so he could scrap indie film.
I love it.
It was great. We balanced those perspectives. And the third producer, Jeremy Kuhn, he knew Jared Hess. He'd worked with him on a number of short films. He also had a relationship with the financier. As we were graduating, Aaron Rule, who played Kip, said, "Hey, there's this short film called Palooka. It's playing in Slamdance. It's kind of a tall, skinny kid with a perm. It's kind of quirky and in the middle. You guys should check it out." So we went to Slamdance. We saw Palooka. We're like, this is weird, and I'm from a town in South Dakota. So
explain to our loyal listeners what Slamdance is, because it's kind of like its own unique little weird thing.
Yeah, everybody knows Sundance as this iconic, like the biggest festival in North America or America.
Yeah.
And they don't tend to realize that there are probably 20 or 30 other festivals that are happening around Sundance at the same time.
I actually didn't know that either. I thought it was just Slamdance and Sundance. So educate me.
No. Slamdance, She Dance, We Dance, Moon Dance, Gay Dance.
No, stop.
Dead serious. There was a guy with a van that had the door slit open that had his movie playing, like Van Dance, maybe. I don't know what that one was called exactly. Get in my van, which is a great idea. But Slamdance has a history of finding some pretty cool directors like Soderbergh and showing the films often that Sundance kind of passed over just by virtue of how few they can show. They had screened Palooka, the 16 millimeter black and white 8-minute short film about tall, skinny kid with a perm who makes a new friend at school. That character's name was Seth, and he makes a friend at school named Pedro. Pedro gets hot one day and shaves his head. So Seth helps him find a wig while getting a suit for prom. And a number of those scenes
Yes.
that were the same scenes in Napoleon's.
Amazing.
We saw that. And my history, I'm a tall, skinny redhead. I had a perm freshman year, braces, glasses, weighed 130 pounds, was 6'2". So I related to the character that they had created.
Sure.
And also, my hometown of 500 people had plenty of quirky characters. So that was our access point, and thought, gosh, if we could make a feature. And Jared and Jerusha, his wife, had gone through and done a draft of Napoleon, and we're developing it up.
Jared and Jerusha had directed this short film. Was John in the film?
Yes, John played the character of Seth.
John Hader. Okay, great.
John Hader, who became the character of Napoleon Dynamite, which is a better name than Seth. I think we can agree.
Totally agree.
In fact, Jared learned that name. He was on his mission in Chicago, and he's was talking to a homeless person, and they're having just great conversation. They're hanging out for an hour, and at the end, he's like, "Wow, man, it's really great meeting you. What's your name?" And he's like, "Brother, my name is Napoleon Dynamite." Jared's like, "That is so sweet."
So that is where the name Napoleon Dynamite came. Jared Hess was on his mission. Explain that a little bit.
Sure. So Jared is LDS. Went to BYU, and in fact, most of the above line, most of the crew on Napoleon Dynamite was Mormon.
Okay,
Made
got it.
for the best set experience. Nobody was hungover. Nobody's.
Oh my God, that sounds magical.
Magical, absolutely magical. And everybody speaks 10 languages. Like John Heder, I think he did his mission in Japan. He speaks Japanese and also sign language. Jared speaks Spanish.
Sure. I mean, you utilize that in the film. That's incredible, the sign language.
So graduating film school, we wanted to make a feature. Jeremy Kuhn had a relationship with a financier that had a lot of successful businesses in his background. And we got a pitch meeting. And the pitch basically was about the business model. So on a 10-hour drive from LA to Salt Lake City, I learned PowerPoint and created a business model in the passenger seat of the rental car that Doc and I had. And it was like the cheapest one too. So I have like T-Rex arms there trying to bang out a PowerPoint. And I get it done. And we arrived in Salt Lake at like 3 a.m. and we're staying with some friends, and they're like, "Oh, you did a PowerPoint. How are your animations?" Like, "What do you mean animation?" And they show me. Then I stay up the rest of the night making stuff flip around.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you'd come from VC, and like you kind of knew a little bit how to speak the language, right? Like you could speak to a high net worth individual.
Exactly. I could speak VC. That's what Napoleon was. It was a slate of 3 pictures that were cross-collateralized.
Oh.
Meaning, 3 films that have the same economics. If we lose money on Napoleon Dynamite but make money on the second, it repays the loss on the first. And that's how studios work. Yeah. And that's what right? So they were 3 $500,000 movies. First being Napoleon. The pitch to the investor for Napoleon was a quirky comedy by Jared Hess.
Okay.
That's it. No vote for Pedro. No dance. No, there's a Deb. Like nothing.
Did you show the short film? Like, was that available for?
Absolutely
no, not even. No. Okay, cool. Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's a stellar pitch.
It's a stellar pitch. And then the second film, Crawl Space, a horror film by Dagan Merrill, because we could say, here are the economics of this independent comedy. It won't have a star, which means we have to get a festival sale. If we don't, there's no foreign. Yeah. There's no direct home video. This money is gone forever. Here are the economics of a horror film. This is what we could do with foreign. Here's a success. And then here's a drama. Here's how you cast a drama. And I had to tell him straight out, we're going to lose all your money. But also, if we don't, it would be this crazy thing where we got into Sundance and sold the Searchlight. And if that happened, it could go in theaters and we would do business like Clerks. We would do $4 million in the box office. But don't think about that, because that's an insane possibility. Right. But the other thing about that meeting was amazing. We knew that he wanted to see the script. And I hadn't done an equity pitch for movies. So we thought, okay, so we printed the script, brought the script, and he reads the cover page, and then he opens it up and he starts reading the first page of the script, and we're all kind of looking at each other.
He's reading it in the meeting.
In the meeting. Is this what happens? I guess you got to, you're going to make a movie, you better read the script. So he finishes the first page, he flips to the back and fans through it to make sure there's words on every page, and then he weighs it with his fingertips. And then he puts it on the table and says, "All right, proceed."
Wait, who is this magical fairy godfather? We're going to keep his name quiet, but I mean, he was
say that
obviously.
he founded 1-800-CONTACTS in his dorm room.
Okay. That's amazing.
He did it. He did it right. Yeah. Super successful guy who doesn't want to be a film financier, and you cannot blame him for that.
I know, I'm sure. But I mean, what like I often find this, like these film financiers, they'll jump into the business and then magically they'll have a hit out of the gates. And then they're like, oh, this is fun. This is easy. I mean, literally the first movie I funded with Staygold was a film called Patty Cakes. And it sold for like $10 million, and we made it for $2 million. And all my investors were like, let's double down. Let's go. Like, this is so easy.
So easy. I can't believe how easy this is.
So chill. And they all came to Sundance, and like they met the stars, and it was great. And then like 5 films later, they're like, oh, wait.
Okay, listen.
Yeah. It doesn't always happen like that? Got it. Okay.
And you told them. Like, you told them in the
Totally.
meeting.
I was like, you got to be willing to lose this all. You've got to be willing to lose it all. Yeah. Okay, so 1-800-CONTACTS. Got it. He's like, I'm in. I'm in. 3 pictures. The first would be Napoleon, budgeted at 500, though we actually landed the budget at 275. And we had to strike a print when we got accepted to Sundance. So we had to conform a 35 millimeter negative. We had to color it. So $125,000 had to be. So you shot on film?
Shot 35. Yeah.
Impressive.
What had happened, like on the one side, we have the slate of films that we're pitching to the investor, 3 cross-collateralized, very different movies, a drama, a horror film, comedy. But from the inside Hollywood perspective, we're graduating film school, and this slate was called Access Films. Access. And that thing allowed us a story that worked in town. Like I got a meeting with Bob Harvey, who was the president of marketing for Panavision, and went in because he was somebody's uncle. And I mean that literally.
Okay.
Somebody's uncle, and we're there, and he doesn't know why. And then when we finish this 30-minute pitch, he looks at me, picks up the phone at the end of the conference room table, beep, 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 get in here. Hangs it up. And then Rick Halpern comes walking in. He just started the Young Filmmaker program. And Bob looks at me and says, do it again.
Do the pitch all over.
Do it again. Back to 1. So we're first timers and we're doing the thing and we're scrapping. And he's like, all right, we've been looking for this. You have free cameras on your movies.
No way.
Free lenses. And then I went to Kodak and did it. And Kodak's like, got it.
So Kodak gave you the film and they gave it to you for free?
They gave it to me for free.
That is good producing. Like getting that like essential equipment that's so high quality for free is great producing.
I mean, it also elevated what was happening on set. When you're there and you see a Panavision camera, it's like we're doing it.
Yeah.
But that message of like, here's the story of what we're doing impacted everything. Like the casting directors we were meeting with were amazing. But like one who will remain nameless watched the black and white short film and said, okay, here's the deal. You guys are great. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I love the script, but I can't watch that guy for an hour and a half. No way I could do that. So listen, I have a relationship with Jake Gyllenhaal, and he would be amazing as Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my God.
Make that happen on your budget. And we had to have, I mean, that was a big dark night of the soul to get together.
100%. I mean, you really probably had to look inward. Because like you have all this money at risk. It's launching your company. Like the prospect of Jake is probably very appealing.
Absolutely. It's there's somebody who's been in a movie now that's going to be in our movie. That's a huge deal. And so we had to get together with Jared. And I'd like to say that it was a fight. Like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. But just like you said, we really, all of us had to come to the table. And at the end, we're like, the thing that we would make is not the thing that's in Jared and Jerusha's mind.
Right.
And it's not the thing that they've kind of already made with Palooka. So let's back our horse. And we've got 2 more movies when we lose all this cash. But we did need a casting director and ended up with Jory Whites, who producing lesson, he was going to bring so much value and credibility to the project that we gave him an executive producer credit and some back end because he was elevating our team. That was a credit and back end that was very well spent.
Yes.
And then we started swinging for the fences on casting.
Okay, talk to me.
We're going to back the truck up on an offer.
Okay.
We're going to go to Jack Black.
Yeah.
We're going to offer him $10,000. Jack Black for one day of the movie. This is going to go great. And we knew
it's going to blow his mind. He
He's just
hasn't
not
seen
even-
this many zeros in maybe 2
it's gonna
hours.
We're happy that we have a comma, much less another
Oh.
zero. So you know, and Jory's a great guy, and he's intense. Like Jory will just go after something. Our casting director.
Yeah.
Send it over. He calls the agent again. Finally, the agent says, "Listen, it's not effing happening. It's never effing going to happen. Stop effing calling me."
Oh my God.
And then Jared's next movie, Nacho Libre with Jack Black. And you know what came up in the conversation? Not that. Like at no point. You don't throw the agent under the bus. The consequences
Oh
of
my God. That is so
forever.
smart of you.
Yeah. So Jack Black didn't quite work out. So then we started moving down the rungs, and we went to Brad Garrett. I probably shouldn't say this. Since I turned it down. And Brad Garrett read it, and he's like, "Oh, this is a really cute movie, but it's not cute enough to go to Idaho." And I think that's a burn on Idaho that's inappropriate. Idaho is a beautiful place, lovely state, good people. Brad,
it's one day. It's one day. It's one day, Brad.
One day, Brad.
But it's so funny because as producers, I often forget that is a factor. Travel, getting to a place that like doesn't have great food or whatever the thing is, or like the pillows you like. Yeah, that's a factor.
The food would be garbage. There might not be pillows at the hotel in the town. Like he called it. His vibe was probably not far off.
Yeah.
Another actor who will remain nameless said, "Listen." So we got his number from SAG. We thought it was an agent. We called. Doc left a message. Doc gets a call back from him, and he says, "Okay, pitch me the movie." And so Doc like pitches his heart out, and he's like, "Okay, here's what I hear." He says, "Listen, you need to know that I do little parts in big movies." Big parts in little movies, but it sounds like you're pitching me a little part in a little movie. So here's the best one, and I will drop his name, Bruce Campbell of Evil Dead fame. We're like, if Bruce Campbell was Rex of Rex Pondo, I mean, that's a movie. Who's not going to see that movie? So he was doing an autograph signing at the Burbank Marriott, and you had to pay to get in.
This is its own movie. I'm surprised there's not a documentary on the casting of Napoleon Dynamite.
We're making it right now. This is it. You're doing great.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay. This is so good. Okay. So go ahead. He's doing autograph signing for what?
I think it had just come out like Bubba Hotep or something had just come out. A movie that's probably your favorite. It's probably your favorite movie. And so Doc, we were all sci-fi and horror nerds, and we like scrapped together enough money to get him to get a ticket to the Burbank Marriott. And he goes in, he's got a copy of the script like hidden in his jacket, which I remember at the time was a red trench coat to make everything less creepy. And he comes in and he's got his script in, and he waits in line for like an hour and a half and finally gets up to Bruce Campbell. He's like, Mr. Campbell, big fan, love it. Listen, I'm producing a movie. It's called Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh God.
We would love if you would like read it and check it out for like this awesome, amazing cameo. It's just one day. And Bruce Campbell says to him, "Listen, guy, I'm not going to read your movie. I'm not going to be in your movie. And I'm kind of legally exposed if I take that script. So I'm not even going to take your script." And Doc's like, fair. But could we take a picture together where you hold the script and you give it a thumbs down so the guys know that I actually did this? And he's like, "No, I will not take a picture with your script with my thumbs down. But what I will do is take a picture with you with the script with my thumbs up. I'm just not going to read your script or be in your movie." And Doc is like, in. So there exists in the ether.
We have to find that. We have to find that image.
It's like the first generation digital camera. So it's going to be like 52K resolution of Doc and Bruce Campbell with Bruce Campbell's thumbs up with the Napoleon Dynamite shoes. After that, Jory's like, "Can we be done now? Can we please get to the actually casting your movie part of casting your movie?" And away we're.
What are you going to do today, Napoleon?
Whatever I feel like I want to do. Gosh. Stay home and eat all the freaking chips, Kip.
Napoleon, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with babes all day.
So then you just cast regular actors who auditioned and were great and perfect.
casting split between us, so much of the casting coming locally, and also to Jared that he could work with people who very evidently were not actors, and that contributed to the clunky, authentic, and he owned that. But also, we knew that we needed a solid actor in Uncle Rico, and Jory's like, listen, I just worked with this guy, John Grice. You may know him from Real Genius as Laszlo in The Closet. And then he's like, Sandy Martin. She was also in Real Genius, and she's a friend of mine, and she would rock it as Grandma, and just started stacking it up.
I love that you use the cast from Real Genius, which was a film, one of Val Kilmer's best. Let's just say that.
Absolutely.
It's so underrated, but like legitimately 40 years old now, right?
Yes. So we were deep 80s, nuts.
Yeah.
And I think that permeates Napoleon.
Totally. Yeah.
We have our A-Team theme song in there, and we have all this stuff, which also, quick aside, I think contributes to what is the timelessness that the movie had when the movie came out. And the question was always, what year is this set in? Like, why do they have the internet when it's so clearly 1987?
Right.
But if you've been to small towns in middle America or grown up in them, you're just kind of behind.
Yes.
So to make a short story way too long, we'll whip through a couple other casting.
I love it.
bits.
I love these details. It's my favorite.
Okay. So Deb, we were doing sessions for the role of Deb, which went to Tina Majorino, who we love. And one of the actresses who came in was Haley Duff. And we're all like, I don't know about the Haley Duff choice about Deb. She's not that. And she comes in and she's sparkly and beautiful and blonde. And the first thing she says is like, listen, I'm not Deb. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm reading this, but I love this script and I want to be the evil cheerleader. And if you make me the evil cheerleader, I will fly myself out. You don't have to pay me. I will pay for my own hotel. I just really want to be in this. And we were planning on casting that role locally. So we get back that night. And we're like, well, gosh, yeah, let's do that. So we're great. And the next morning, her agent calls and she's like, my client is not flying herself out. My client's not going to work with it. There's no way my client's paying for her own hotel. But,
oh my God, but you got to love that enthusiasm. That's so cool.
It was. And we saw the enthusiasm in a couple other ways, like casting LaFonda. A gal came in, her name was Coco, and Coco had a calendar of topless photo shooting in a number of places. And most of the guys in the room were married Mormon guys. So they're like, and Coco's like handing out her naked calendar. What's happening?
Wait, did you cast Coco or no?
We did not. We cast Chandrella Avery, who's an absolute goddess.
Oh, she's delightful. I mean, she's absolutely delightful. I love her.
When I picked her up from the Salt Lake City airport, she stands up and the woman's 6 feet tall and she's got this like caramel colored massive ponytail and she's wearing juicy sweats, pink. I mean, this is the Salt Lake City airport where the missionaries are all coming.
Cannot wait to hear this.
Homogeneously milk toast group. And she's got a t-shirt on that says Idaho ? No, Idaho.
Oh my God, that's so good. That is so good. Okay, so the cast is coming together. How many people did you end up casting locally and who were they?
A lot of the cast came from Jared's friendship circle.
Okay.
That was John Heder playing Napoleon, Aaron Rule, who played Kip.
Yeah.
Aaron's the coolest dude. He's a cool cat. I have a picture, black and white. He's looking into the camera. He's also a brilliant photographer. He took a large format photo of himself. He's got a beard. He's just looking into camera, holding up this card that says 26. He was 26. And he gets to set. Aaron's all up 5'2", 98 pounds. And he's got his cool guy beard before beards were cool. Aaron's like, listen, please don't make me shave a mustache. Please, anything but the mustache. But Jared's like, sorry, man, you got to. And not only did we shave his mustache, but we got him braces, and not like movie braces. I hit up an orthodontist and got free braces. So you have a beautiful smile, and I'm assuming you didn't go through braces. Did you go through braces?
I did. I absolutely did go through braces.
Do you remember how much they hurt the first week?
You put real braces.
So he couldn't eat. And he's already super skinny. And he had to, everywhere he went, he had to carry an umbrella to keep the sun off him. We were walking, Aaron and I were walking through the Walmart in Logan, Utah, and we came around the corner into an aisle, and a mother and her 3 children look at Aaron, and she grabs the children and pulls them close and turns around and leaves the other way. And Aaron's shoulders just fall. And he's like, oh, man. But he owned that role so completely.
I can't imagine anyone playing that role better. But you know what? It's funny. I was like, I wonder if this guy is really the coolest guy on the planet. because he so inhabited it without like any, it was just like, this is who I am.
Because he and Jared were buds. And it's also a credit to Jared's style. Two things were happening. First off, Jared has an energy that's so calming and accepting and kind that people who have never been in a movie before are now looking at a full 35 millimeter crew setup and all the team, and anybody would just crap themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
But he was able to coax out, no, just say the line like this.
Yeah.
And he would do that by performing everything for them. He would totally give them line readings.
Oh, he would.
Absolute line readings, which would really dial in the performances quickly when we only had enough film for like 2 to 3 takes of anything. And it would also make all of the actors who'd ever been in a movie batshit crazy. So like, what is this guy? This isn't how it works. Like,
I was wondering how that went over with the more seasoned view.
Great.
Yeah.
Not great. That found its way back to the producing team fairly quickly.
So talk to me about the ligers and the costumes. And, that's a very specific thing that became kind of trendy, that dorky chic thing. Now, I feel like Napoleon was one of the films that sort of launched that spirit of filmmaking where it was like, we're going to embrace this sort of quality of humanity that isn't like the king of the football team or whatever, It
was the king of the football team. And that's what we were coming into, the market that was the king of the football team.
Yeah.
And I think among our takeaways, like after the movie had released, there were a couple wonderful, unexpected things that happened. One of them, nerds were getting prom dates in unprecedented numbers. And as the kid who was 6'2" with the permanent braces and glasses, I very much wish that movie would have been around. And then it reduced swearing in schools by 1 billion%, because it was essentially Mormon swear substitutions. Gosh, flip, frick. That was just what was happening there in small
my
town.
God, I'm dying about that. You're totally right.
And then kids co-opted that, and it just it was an amazing sort of outcome. But the language of that movie is entirely Jared and Jerusha, and I don't think Jerusha gets enough credit. When they wrote that movie together, she sat on his lap at the keyboard. When they speak, that's how they speak. And I got it. I collect swords even now in my adulthood, as I have the funds to get good ones. But I collected swords when I was 7. I had nunchuck skills by the time I made middle school.
Oh my God.
Right?
I love it.
And so I understood what he was doing there. He just did it bigger and better than anybody else. And a lot of people refer to Napoleon as a cult classic. And I think that's shooting it a little short. I think that it was a zeitgeist movie.
Mm-hmm.
A zeitgeist movie can't be forced. It has to kind of hit a cultural consciousness at the time that consciousness is doing its own thing. And it kind of got to be the rocket for it.
What were the movies that it was sort of contradicting?
The thing that comes to mind is not a specific set of movies that we were coming out after. This would be like 2003, 2004. What comes to mind is the story of Easy Rider. Like when Easy Rider was made, the movies that were out were Dr. Dolittle, that was a top box office, just poppy, big box office stuff. And then this nothing gritty 10 words of dialogue, Easy Rider shows up and goes to Cannes and then just explodes. And there was and I think that it wasn't just that comedies were poppy and popcorny. I think that most movies were poppy and popcorny.
But like, was it more like Bring It On and those movies that were like embracing cheerleader, sort of just
Pretty people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Pretty people playing ugly. Like when they took their glasses off at the end, you're like, oh goodness.
Yes.
She's beautiful the whole time.
Totally.
John can take his glasses off all day long. He's gonna be John.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if this is where you want the conversation to go right now, but I think that a couple things really resonated with that movie. And one of them was, John's an outsider. We'd say that Napoleon's the movie about the kid you sat next to in math class that nobody talked to. We've all felt that way. And so that's where that movie lived. And the second thing was the plot structure of Napoleon. He doesn't change. He does not care. The change for that character is entirely external. He goes from being by himself standing in the first shot of the movie to being with his new best friend, possibly girlfriend, at the end of the movie. 1 becomes 2.
Yes.
But he doesn't change. Everybody around him goes through an internal change. He's like, I'm me and I don't care. You want to shove me against the locker? That's a you thing, not a me thing.
That's right.
And Jared and Jerusha built that and fought for that. We restructured the plot into 3-act structure and we looked closer at character development and change. And when they did it in a draft before we shot, it just took the stuff out of it.
Interesting. Did you find that felt risky in the edit, or did Jared and Jerusha just believe like, no, this was it?
They believed that it was it. It was the story of who I mean, the movie is named the character. And so he was tied into that journey the whole time. We really didn't understand the risk of that decision until it was handed to us in that test screening. And took us from a 2,000 screen release to a 2-screen release. When we got to Sundance, we had a relationship with Slamdance, and Slamdance wanted to premiere the feature, and they announced and determined their slate before Sundance announced. So we were in a situation where we had to decide if we're going to take the Slamdance slot where Palooka had come from, or if we were going to wait to find out if Sundance was going to.
Yep.
And that was huge, because if they didn't, then we were screwed, and Slamdance would have already closed its slate. So
were you represented by a proper agency at this point?
The movie was getting some buzz, and there were some programmers at Sundance that were talking about it. That ended up becoming darn near a fist fight, I'm told, about whether or not Napoleon was actually a good movie and should be programmed. But that put it on the radar of John Sloss. And I had studied Sloss in film school, and I knew what he did with a company called Indigent. He created the buyer's market for Sundance in 1991 when he sold Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And that was, at the time, it was called the American Film Festival, I believe. And he kind of became the guy who could sell stuff at Sundance and quickly amassed pretty incredible power. His legendary Sloss house, where he's got a big old cabin, and he would put studios in every bedroom and just walk studio to studio on a movie he was representing, saying, here's the number they wrote down. What are you going to write down? And studios hated him for his amazing ability to just throttle the power and eke out deals. Yeah. And we were lucky to be one of his films, along with Garden State. And I believe he sold Super Size Me that year too. And he sold Sunshine, and he sold, like, he's the guy. And he understands that market in a way that saved our lives. Like, when we actually got into Sundance, our impulse was like, okay, we've got to figure out our run down the street naked campaign to draw attention. And like, we've got to get this movie out there. And Sloss got us together and said, no, the exact opposite. You're on lockdown. You don't send out a copy of this movie to anybody. You don't talk about this movie. I'll control the hype. And there was a publication, the top 75 movies to see at Sundance. Of 125, Napoleon was not listed. At no point was there any mention. And I had friends, because I just graduated film school, so all my friends are assistants. And I had assistants listening in on calls with Sloss from Searchlight and other places. And they said that when asking, like, what are you representing? He'd go through Garden State and he'd go through his other movies. He's like, and there's this other movie called Napoleon Dynamite, but it's probably not right for you. And he started to do this "you can't have it" thing. Also worked with the programmers at Sundance and said, this is a PG rated film you've got here. And we were not in competition at the time, which means you get like 3 screenings. Yeah. But he kind of pressured them. You've got a PG rated film that is an audience pleaser. And if it is a better received movie than your competition films, that's not awesome for Sundance. So they moved us into competition, which then expanded the number of screenings to 7. But then he said, you know what? This is a PG rated film. Sundance needs outreach to high schools and stuff. So why don't we do some high school screenings in Salt Lake? So then we got 9 screenings.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy.
Wow.
He also, I don't know this, I wasn't in the room for this, but I think he affected our screening schedule. Our first screening was 3 p.m. on the Friday when all of Hollywood arrives.
Sure.
As the Sundance begins.
And a lot of people are just arriving. Like, that's the moment they just arrive.
Right.
Yeah.
They're only going to be there for what? 3 days?
Yeah, tops. Uh-huh.
Of a 2-week festival. So the second screening was midnight, same day. Third screening was Saturday. So he was ready to build that momentum.
Okay. Wow.
The second thing that happened that drove our hype, Napoleon has the longest credit sequence in the low budget independent film world because we credited every single extra.
Any kid who was in the high school scene was credited with their name.
Yeah, you stand up and clap at the end in the auditorium.
Shut up.
You get a credit. Yep. Everybody got a credit. And this is a small Mormon town, so just like the Andersons take up the screen for a minute. And Preston is all of an hour, maybe an hour and a half away from Sundance. And all of our crew was from Salt Lake, right by Sundance. So we sold out tickets 11 minutes after they went on sale.
Stop it.
We sold out immediately, which made everybody in Hollywood say, what the hell is that.
The perfect storm. I mean, it so rarely happens. It so rarely happens. That's incredible. Right. That in and of itself is incredible. Okay.
Then we get to the actual screening, the first screening. Now, Sloss had locked us down, so we couldn't send the movie out. We had no real perception of it. We did a crew screening just to see if the cut was working. Jared spent that entire screening in the bathroom dry heaving. He was like Sunday, he was catatonic for most of that. So
oh God.
As you know, Sundance has 125 just amazing movies and a number of other incredible films, and it's also programming for unique vision. So sometimes you'll see a movie that is just not for you, right? We called it the Heroin Incest Festival for quite some time. Like dark. And so it's perfectly acceptable to just get up and leave if it's not right. So you might step over, you might knock popcorn in the lap of the director.
Yes.
Because everybody's walking out of their movie.
Oh, horrible.
So first scene comes up, Napoleon, he's got his trapper keeper standing in front of the house. First person gets up and walks out, and they're at the front of the theater, clear over on the right. So everyone watches them walk across and then out. Next scene, John's got like a fake He-Man because we couldn't afford real He-Man with some fishing line on it, and throws it out the window of the bus and drags it behind the bus. Second person is like, nope. And then when he's talking about current events, he's talking about Nessie, our underwater ally, and Sir Godfrey of the Scottish Alliance. The third and fourth person are like, no, not happening. So they leave. And we're thinking like mass exodus. We're done.
Oh my God.
But they were junior executives at studios, and they were going out to the lobby to call their bosses. Sloss has people everywhere. And he was hearing these phone calls coming back. They were calling to say, there's something here. I don't know what it is. It's really weird, but you've got to come see it.
Oh my God. That's brilliant. That's so cool.
Yeah. And at the end of the screening, there's the last scene in the movie, which is Napoleon smacking that tetherball, and Tina Majorino, who plays Deb, is like literally flinching because he's got so much heat on that ball. She's worried she's going to be like she's gonna, it's like long pullback shot. Then the screen cuts to black, and it's silent, and then a standing ovation.
Oh my God!
We're the only people sitting down. We just see butts in front of us, and we're like, "What's happening?" And then the second screening at the Eccles. Standing ovation.
Oh my God. I mean, that is like a dream come true for really a young producer, right? Like you probably in your wildest dreams never imagined that was going to happen.
So we go into the super negotiation mode. Sloss is managing all of that.
Like day one, like that night, right away? That afternoon.
Oh God. But then the midnight screening, I remember seeing Sloss, who's a super tall guy.
Yeah.
Like holding the door and grabbing buyers and shoving them under his arm to get him into the theater.
Oh my God, I'm dying. Oh my God.
Then negotiations went on. They carried into Saturday, and the numbers started at 500, which we were thrilled about, and then sort of stagnated. Searchlight was strong. Sloss was really vying for DVD royalty position. He wanted a strong DVD definition and advised us to take a little less up front if we got a better DVD cut. At one point, I remember Doc and I kind of had to go deal with an actor situation. So we went, we were walking across Park City, and we were behind some hotel, Stein Erickson maybe, and the team from Paramount Classics just kind of like saddled up. And they're like, hey, listen, we're from Paramount Classics. Why don't we sit down for a second? And they pinned us down, and they're like, we're the right studio for your movie. And we can only offer $3 million because nobody knows who we are. We're a small studio. And so, but like.
No way.
Yeah. But Searchlight came in, and the final offer was $4.75 million. They wouldn't allow a $5 million number because I think that's what Garden State was getting.
Okay.
And at the time, that was a lot. We're not talking patty cakes money here. We're not talking that big old $10 million paycheck. Those weren't.
No, but you made the movie for less than $500,000, right?
We were able to take a check from our investor and 10x it within 9 months.
I mean, it's
which, as you know, is exactly how film works.
Totally. Just keep coming back, guys.
Hitting those puppies
Hitting
over.
The jackpot. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, at the party, went to a party, and the financier was there. And I'm like, my eyes are the size of basketballs at this point. And I'm like, can you believe what just happened? We're talking about it theatricals. We just sold the Fox Searchlight. We did all this. And he looks at me stone faced. He's like, this is what you said was going to happen. that we would get into Sundance. 10,000 films are submitted to Sundance and 125 are accepted. You said you were going to get into Sundance and then you just sell it to Searchlight and then it'd go out in theaters. That's what you said was going to happen. I thought I was lying. No, it's like, no, I did not say that. I said you were going to lose all your money, but here.
Oh my God.
Tina, you fat lard, come get some dinner. Tina, eat. Eat the food.
Vote for Pedro.
Vote for Pedro.
Vote for Pedro.
Vote for Pedro.
Vote
Vote for
me.
Pedro. Vote for Pedro.
Hey, vote for me.
Vote for Pedro.
So we're in love. Everybody's in love. We're talking about a 2,000 screen release, which is a national release. And
It's
just
huge.
a big deal. And they decided they wanted to do a test screening of it. And they wanted to do something that's, outside of Hollywood, not jaded by metropolitan perspectives. They don't want to do LA, don't want to do New York. So they choose what is, obviously the Midwest of California, Simi Valley. And all of us who grew up in the Midwest are like,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're different. But they're like, no, this is exactly the same. So
It's just the same. Okay.
Simi Valley, for your listeners who may not know, is where burnt out screenwriters go to be angry.
Oh.
And many of them have children. And those children are genetically designed to be angry screenwriters. And one of those children was in our screen. First off, nobody laughed in that screening.
No.
Dead as a fish. And Peter Rice is there, and Josh Donnan is there, and Jody
No.
Mark are there. Is there, like the Searchlight team is there, and it's not moving. And at the end, NRG guy, National Research Group, gets up and does his NRG dance. He's like, all right, let's talk about the movie. All right, so what do you think? What are your thoughts? And this kid, all of like 14, 15, raises his hand. He's like, listen, this movie has no structure. There's no 3-act structure. And also, there's no character change occurring here. This character learns nothing over the course of his journey. It is an unfulfilling film.
This little punk.
I can tell you, if I have a superpower, it is not making people's heads explode by thinking about it really hard, because I tried to do that to him. and then, like, the only people who stepped up for the movie were these two girls in University of Minnesota sweaters who were visiting, and they were in the lower right-hand corner of the theater, and they're like, we kind of liked it. Like, yeah, those, they,
Let them talk.
let them talk. More from them. But they didn't get to talk. Nobody listens to the girls with the U of M sweaters in the Simi Valley screening. And so afterward, word came like about that 2,000 screens. We're just it's called a platform release. We're going to do one in New York and one in Los Angeles. And we're dead. We knew we were dead. We knew it was over.
God.
But Nancy Utley, who was head of marketing at the time and went on to run Searchlight, she had this idea to do free screenings around the nation. She did 400 free screenings of the movie before it released, and she gave away, I've got some chapsticks up here, vote for Pedro, shirts were
cool,
pins and stuff, and kind of built the word before it even happened. A second thing happened. Fox acquired us for 4.75 for worldwide rights. MTV Films was second up with Paramount Classics. Afterward, Searchlight realized they had terribly misspent their money and they were about to lose it all because of how horrible this movie was that they bought.
Oh,
so
God.
Half of it to MTV Films Paramount Classics. And MTV Films Paramount Classics recouped out of foreign. So suddenly we've got MTV there. And if you think about maybe what your experience was with the movie, or certainly what the experience was with the audience, nobody who was at Sundance was watching MTV. And nobody who was watching MTV was at Sundance.
Yes.
So they got the I Want Candy song and cut this trailer. And they've got all these 15-year-olds coming to these screenings. And when the first screening happened in Los Angeles at the Sunset 5, I think it was at the time, I went to check the audience reaction. And I was walking in as the first screening was letting out. And there was like this kid, high school kid, in an FFA jacket with a Vote for Pedro shirt and pins and all this stuff, turning back to like 10 of his friends saying, see, I told you. And
I just got the chills.
Something's going to happen. And a platform release did happen. And we were in theaters for over 6 months.
Oh my God. When did you guys release? What time of year? July
2004.
So you played through the end of the year.
So box office, it expanded from 2 to what would eventually be about 1,500 screens really slowly.
Wow.
And we would notice that in certain areas, box office was per screen averages were super low. In certain areas, they were number one. They'd be $20,000 per screen, which is amazing.
Yeah.
They'd be like $1,000, like in Chicago. And so I researched what was going on in Chicago with the movie, and it was critics' reviews. Critics were hating on the movie and nobody was going to see it. And when we read the reviews, it was clear that those critics thought we were making fun of Napoleon.
Uh-huh.
That we were the cool kids, he was the big nerd, and we were beating
Yeah.
him up. I mean, who's going to be nerdier than a film critic? And they're like,
Yeah.
not today.
Oh,
So
interesting.
the film critics who understood that he's us, like
Yes.
we love him, we're pulling for him, they would give us a positive review and the box office would be off the charts. And in the areas that it was low, it would slowly build up. But we plateaued at about $23 million and just sort of stagnated. So Searchlight had us go out and shoot an after credit sequence, which they had taken a deleted scene from 28 Days Later. And 28 Days Later was in a situation where it also plateaued at about 24. And they're like, there's more to be made here. This movie's not doing what we thought it was going to do. So they just threw a cut scene after the credits and re-released the picture. And it bumped that box office up.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a year later, go shoot the wedding scene. I don't know if you've seen it after the credits. And like Napoleon comes riding up on a horse and John's got this terrible wig on that's about to fall off. And Kip's like singing a song that he wrote to LaFonda, and LaFonda's family's there at the wedding. And they're all like, I can't believe this is happening. And they're shaking their heads. It was just a thing. But they threw that on the print after the credits and re-released the movie, and our box office doubled.
No way.
At about 46. But a thing was happening that was pretty awesome. Teenagers were habituating their parents into the habit of taking them to see Napoleon Dynamite every Saturday afternoon and giving them money for Napoleon. And they would buy a Napoleon ticket and then sneak into Team America World Police.
No, stop.
Yep. We think we got $3, $4, $5 million of their box office.
Stop.
Yeah.
That is crazy because it's PG. Oh my God. That is so genius.
Yeah.
How did you figure that out? How did you even like?
That was a Fox observation.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is
So the
wild.
movie did 46.1 in the box office. $1 million of that is foreign. So MTV Films is recouping their $2+ million from foreign. I don't know if they've recouped to this day.
Oh my God.
To this day. Nobody watches the movie internationally. Although it's having a moment in Japan right now, which is kind of blowing my mind.
Oh, interesting.
And then DVD. And our DVD, we did $137 million on DVD. We were the number one DVD of Searchlight's.
You're kidding.
And it probably will be forever now the DVD is. But DVD
Doesn't exist. Good God.
exists.
That is incredible. That is incredible, incredible. So that was sort of the height of the DVD market.
Yeah, it was. We were the number 3 selling DVD of that year. We were number 4. We beat Star Wars that year. We were beaten by Incredibles and Incredibles widescreen as 2 different DVDs.
Oh God.
That's how Pixar does it. And we made $137 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The geniuses.
What's great about that number, though, compared to our box office, is really the heart of the story of Napoleon Dynamite. People were finding it and they were owning it and they were passing it to others. And like everybody who sees it, nobody saw it in theaters. They saw it because their friend said, hey, there's this movie. And their friend, it was their movie. And then they watched it. It became their movie and they told somebody else.
Sean, first of all, you're such a good storyteller. I want to be your friend. This has just been like the most fun, honestly. Are there any, I feel like I rushed you through some of these like anecdotes and I don't want to take up so much of your time, but are there other things you feel like you want us to know?
Well, I mean, I'm sure we've saturated your listeners to the point that they're trying to tap out on listening to Napoleon stories, but production was a trip. Keep in mind, we're coming into a town that has no production resources at all. Our production office was this disused lumberyard that had been sitting empty for 20 years. And it was just it was a hazard on every level. So I remember one of my favorite memories of Napoleon. It was 11 o'clock at night and we're hands and knees scrubbing the floor and we're moving stuff out of the way and trying to put in desks. And my computer was playing through this old beat up sound system with like a blown speaker. and Andrea Bocelli comes on and it's Conte Patricio. And my producing partner, Doc Wyatt, he speaks Italian. And I remember there was a point where he stops mopping and he just kind of leans on the mop and he translates what's being sung line by line.
Oh,
as we're
stop.
in
I'm
silence.
weeping. That's
so-
incredible. What a memory.
And then, like, the script called for Uncle Rico to live in a beat up Airstream and drive a 1970s Cordoba, like, land yacht from Detroit.
Okay. Okay.
Jared and I were at the gas station one time talking about whatever, and the orange Santana van drove
That
by.
van. Oh my God.
We didn't even say anything to each other. We just like flat out sprinted to chase that van down. And the guy gets out and he's amazing. He's like a biker who doesn't own a bike. He's got a leather vest and no shirt on. And like he has restrained 12 strands of black hair into a ponytail back on the back of his head. And he's just mad about everything. And like the outside of that van's amazing, but the inside's even better. It had a bed in it with an orange shag blanket and a black leather headboard with a stitched in tiger.
Oh my God.
And I was like, listen, we'd love to use your van. He's like, I don't know about this plan. I was like, look, dude, here's the deal. You've seen Easy Rider, right? He's like, yeah. There were 4 motorcycles created for Easy Rider, 2 for Billy and 2 for Captain America. And they had to destroy 2 of them at the end of the movie. But the other 2, those were kept by the guy who built them. And one night, 2:00 in the morning, somebody breaks into his house with shotguns. He and his girlfriend are in bed. He steals those motorcycles. Can you imagine the value of owning an Easy Rider motorcycle? Well, listen, we're going to put your van in a movie.
You're like the greatest producer of all time.
So I'm not, because here's what happened next. So he's like, okay, so we get to borrow it on the days we needed it. But he and his family of very angry people would show up at the production office and demand stuff. And it would be like toilet paper. Like, we need toilet paper. And you try to deny a human toilet paper. So we'd have to go to the grocery store to get the toilet paper, or like cigarettes. And we issued an insurance cert on the thing, as you do when you rent anything. But it turns out their whole financial plan was waiting for an insurance settlement for something else. So when they got our cert, I got a call and they're mad. And they're like, you scratched our van. But don't worry, our body guy says it's just going to cost $10,000 to fix it. But don't worry about that, because you clearly have insurance. And I looked at the scratch and it had rust in it. Like that scratch had been there for
way.
Fortunately, I found out that the younger kid in the family was selling weed in town. And the mayor, who was also the parole officer of the town, was kind of our bestie. So after they kept screaming at me for the insurance certificate thing, I was like, listen, how about that you stop calling me on this, and I won't tell the mayor that your kid's selling weed in your awesome small Mormon town.
In the nicest way possible. I'm sure you said that. Like,
yeah, because when you've got that, you don't need to be mean. You've got the Jack in the Box of hammer drops, and you can just.
Oh my God! But yeah, I mean, that's like the unforeseen thing with production is like you can get people, you can rent their apartments or whatever it is, and then you get a shakedown at the end of production, and they're just people get very good at that, and it's like another part of producing that's just the pits.
It really is, and I think that's why movies are expensive.
Yeah.
Because you pay to avoid miracles. You don't want to have to get lucky and find that van, and you don't want to have to deal with a shakedown. So you just back the truck up with somebody and you give them $20,000 to rent their van for a week, or you build your own sets and don't have to worry about something going wrong.
Well, you are such a gentleman. You're so hilarious and wonderful, and I am so grateful for you telling the story. I honestly did not expect all these like hilarious, crazy stories that literally echo the tone of the film. So thank you so much. I hope you will come back to do this again, and I hope to meet you in person one day. You're like a delight.
Thank you.
Okay.
I caught you a delicious bass.
So Bex, what a delight.
Yeah.
He is one of the best storytellers maybe we've had, and we've had great storytellers.
I was so engaged. He remembered so many of the details of this.
It was incredible. It was like it happened yesterday for him.
Yeah. So much fun, so engaging. And I can just tell that from the energy that he was giving us, then remembering and watching the movie, like I'm sure this was just such a fun, wild, crazy process that it's one of those, producing your first feature film that like this, and you're never going to get an experience like this again, because this just like it was a once in a lifetime, really fun, kind of incredible moment.
I was just so deeply inspired, and then to have the Cinderella story that they did not have one star in the movie. I mean, really.
They tried. Those stories of them trying are hilarious, and all the actors that they would go to be like, no,
Oh
really?
my God.
I love when Brad Garrett was like, yeah, I'm not going to Idaho.
This sounds like a small part in a small film.
I loved that.
That
one.
was so good.
Small part in a small film.
And then they somehow made it to Sundance. They somehow sold out all these screenings because they listed every extra's name in the credits, and the extras wanted to come see their names in the credits,
Oh my
which is
gosh.
such a hilarious lesson to us if we want to sell out Sundance. But I was just it was such a Cinderella story. It was just like, it was a movie that maybe would never have seen the light of day. And then it got picked up by Fox Searchlight, but then they tested it and it tested horribly.
Yeah.
And it was going to be released in 1,000 screens, and then it was released in 2 screens.
Oh my gosh.
And then it still got an intense cult following and ended up making a ton of money. And so that's the beauty of this business. I swear to God. It's like, it's why I stay with it, you know? You never can predict what's going to happen.
I remember when it blew up. Like Napoleon Dynamite was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
And I was pretty young at the time when it came out. I think I was in high school, and I'll never forget. I was like, everyone's talking about this. Like, we have to watch it. We have to watch it. And it was literally like we went to Blockbuster with my parents, and we rented the DVD, and we watched it as a family. And my parents were like, "What is this?" What, they just didn't get it.
That's
at
what
all.
I was going to ask. Did your parents even get what was going on?
Nope. They were like, "What did you do?" But I was there like, I love this, right? It's like,
Did you? Did
yes,
you love it?
I
Okay.
was such an awkward high schooler that I was like, oh man, these are my people.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it felt so gratifying to see outcasts be the lead of a movie.
Yeah.
When Sean mentioned this, you know, at the time, at the lead up, it was really, high school movies were all about either the popular kids or like the she's all that's, where it's like, you know, the nerdy kid is secretly beautiful and becomes popular.
Yes.
And I love that when Sean said that Napoleon never really changes throughout the movie, right? Yeah. I don't know that it even hit me the first time that I watched that movie.
Right.
That's something that you realize as you're older, and you're like, oh, right. This movie isn't about him changing and becoming a different type of person to impress someone else or to fit in, or it's just about, he's just him, and he's always going to be him. And I think that's such a great message, and something that people were just really eager to love about the movie.
Sean Covel, we love you. That was such a great interview. Please come back. You're one of the great storytellers that we've had. I have to say that the fact that he's a professor at USC probably has something to do with it. Like, he probably has to like entertain his students all the time with these tales. So it really felt like he was well prepped. He was incredibly well prepped for this. But all our interviews are just like, they've been so wonderful and dynamic. So, well, loyal listeners, thank you for tuning in another week. We've got some really, really exciting episodes coming up. I can't believe the people that we're managing to book, Bex. It's like getting better and better. We're growing.
We're growing, and people are listening to us, and people want to come on and tell their stories. And it's very exciting. So we're very happy that you're all listening, and we hope you're enjoying it. Remember to like and subscribe. Keep listening. Keep following us on social media. We're at Stay Gold Features on Instagram. Always feel free to DM us and talk about the podcast if you love it. Tell us what you liked, and give us any suggestions of people or movies that you want us to talk about. And never forget to stay gold.
Stay gold, guys.